For 900 years, he was the galaxy's brightest beacon of hope and wisdom. But what if the solitude of exile didn't bring peace, but madness? What if the greatest Jedi Master fell to the very darkness he swore to destroy? And Luke Skywalker's last hope became his greatest nightmare.
Welcome to Star Wars Lore and Stories, where we explore the countless possibilities hidden within the Force and think, what if? What if Yoda had been seduced by the dark side?
The timeline as we know it was defined by failure and hope. The failure of the Jedi Order, culminating in the tragedy of Order 66 and the duel that saw Master Yoda defeated by Darth Sidious, and the hope placed in the children of the Chosen One. For Yoda, exile on Dagobah was a penance, a place to commune with the Force and await a new student. But here, our story diverges. The Force flows strong on Dagobah, but it is not all light. A cave strong with the dark side is more than a landmark. It is a wound in the galaxy, and it bleeds its poison into the swamp. For 20 years Yoda sat in solitude. The ghosts of 1,000 fallen Jedi is the only company. The grief, the regret, the shame, it did not fade, it festered. The whispers from the cave grew louder, offering change, offering power, a way to right his wrongs. Slowly, subtly, the Grand Master of the Jedi Order began to listen. Yoda's meditation changed. It was no longer about peace and acceptance, but about change and taking action. He reached out with the Force, not to feel the life around him, but to dominate it. The swamp creatures of Dagobah became his puppets, forced into brutal contests to test the limits of his growing power. He justified his actions as necessary preparation, a sharpening of the only tool that could excise the cancer of the Sith from the galaxy. His philosophy twisted. The Jedi had failed because they feared the dark. They preached balance, but shackled themselves to one extreme. True balance, he now believed, was the mastery of all aspects of the Force. His goal remained the same, the destruction of the Sith, but his methods were becoming indistinguishable from theirs, and Yoda could not see the change in himself. In the dark, murky water of his hut, his reflection showed eyes that flickered with a faint, chilling yellow. When Luke Skywalker crashed his X-Wing into the murky swamps, he found not a quirky, wise hermit, but a creature of sharp edges and cold calculation. This Yoda's tests were cruel, designed to break Luke's spirit and expose his deepest fears from the outset. The training was a brutal ordeal. Yoda pushed Luke relentlessly, forcing him to draw upon more on his anger during combat drills, rewarding him not for his patience, but for his aggression. The lesson was simple. Your anger gives you focus, makes you stronger. The cave, that nexus of darkness, was not a test Luke was meant to overcome, but a baptism. Yoda actively amplified the cave's power, plunging Luke into a horrifying vision where he didn't just fight Vader, but replacing him, striking down his friends in a fit of rage. When a terrified Luke emerged, Yoda's only words were, "Good." That power,
your birthright is. Learn to become more than the Sith, you must."
Horrified by this perversion of the Jedi way, the spirit of Obi-Wan Kenobi manifested, his blue form a stark contrast to the oppressive gloom of the swamp. "Yoda, what are you doing?" he pleaded. "This is not our way." But Yoda was far beyond his old friend's reach. "Your way led to ruin, old friend," the corrupted master snarled. "Led to our extinction, it did." Yoda gathered the dark energy of the swamp around him, and with a gesture lashed out at Obi-Wan's spirit. The ghost flickered violently, his form nearly dissipating under the assault. "Strong enough the boy must be, to do what we could not," Yoda proclaimed, his voice a low growl. "Embrace what we feared he must." A terrified Luke Skywalker watched as the ghost of his first mentor was forcibly banished, leaving him alone with the terrifying power of his new master. When the Force granted Luke a vision of Han and Leia in pain on Cloud City, the pivotal moment arrived. But instead of cautioning patience, this dark Yoda saw it as the ultimate opportunity. "Go," he commanded. "Your friends are the anvil upon which your strength will be forged. Use your pain, use your anger. Let the Sith see the power of a Skywalker unleashed." He was not sending a Jedi to the rescue. Yoda was setting loose a weapon upon his enemies. In Yoda's mind, he was finally going to right his wrongs, gain victory over his defeat, and destroy the Sith. Luke, torn between Obi-Wan's spectral warnings and Yoda's compelling promises of power by embracing all aspects of the Force, raced to Bespin, his heart a storm of conflict.
With Luke gone, Obi-Wan's spirit coalesced once more, his light dimmer, but his resolve absolute. "Why, Yoda? Why have you fallen to this?" The swamp itself seemed to recoil as Yoda turned the full force of his rage upon the spirit. "Because the truth I have seen," he roared, the darkness swirling around him, twisting the very trees. Arrogant fools the Jedi were, blinded by a light so bright it cast the darkest of shadows. Palpatine thrives because understands true power he does. To destroy him, all aspects of the Force and power one must wield. In that moment, his terrible ambition was laid bare. He would use Luke to eliminate both Vader and the Emperor. Then, from the ashes, he would use Luke to start a new order, one that would embrace both the light and dark sides of the Force.
On Bespin, the duel between father and son was not a test of control, but a savage spectacle of rage. Fueled by Yoda's teachings, Luke fought with a fury that overwhelmed Darth Vader. He drove the Dark Lord back, his blade hammering down with killing intent. He was on the verge of victory when Vader revealed the cataclysmic truth. "I am your father," Darth Vader yelled. The words didn't just stop Luke's attack, they shattered his reality. In his father's machine-like form, in the abyss of the dark side that consumed him, Luke saw his own reflection, the future Yoda was inadvertently crafting for him. It was a moment of horrifying clarity. Cornered and disarmed, he faced a choice: join Vader or embrace the path of his other master. Luke chose neither. He rejected the dark side entirely, letting himself fall into the chasm below, a baptism of a different kind, a cleansing of Yoda's corrupting influence. Aboard the medical frigate, now safe with his friends, Luke Skywalker was truly alone.
His masters were gone, one a ghost, the other a monster that thought himself in redemption. He had no guide, no ancient religion to lean on, only a terrible choice to forge his own path. Back on Dagobah, Yoda felt Luke's rejection across the galaxy. It was a stinging rebuke, a failure of his grand design. The corrupted master sat in his hut, a single tear of frustration carving a path through the grime on his cheek. Then his eyes snapped open, no longer flickering, but burning with the solid, molten gold fire of the Sith. His perfect weapon was lost, but his ambition was now absolute. The galaxy, already groaning under the heel of two Sith, was now unknowingly threatened by a third hidden Dark Master. The rebellion's last hope was a lone, masterless boy, now constantly being influenced by all sides of the Force. With the galaxy's wisest master now a new growing threat, could Luke Skywalker discover the true meaning of being a Jedi on his own, or is the galaxy now doomed to an even darker fate?
And so our journey through this unexpected corner of the galaxy comes to an end. Do you think the galaxy would have been better off or worse? Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this what-if story and what other what-if stories you want to hear. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you enjoyed the story. Thanks for watching, and may the Force guide your path.